I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're listening to Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the sins of the underworld. We're Ireland's top podcast for 2025, and now we've got a new website. So if you want to learn more about crime and criminals, if you want stories, extras, and podcast subscriber specials, go to www.crimeworld.com. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
I know.
Does anyone want a Crime World mug for the viewers?
What's in the mug? Kind of seems like just going to be.
You know what's in it is hot water and honey.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm afraid I'm about to lose my voice.
Okay.
And I'm on the Late Late Show.
Are
Friday
you?
night,
I didn't actually know that.
and it wouldn't help sitting there.
No.
Sounding like Bonnie
Just-
Tyler.
Have you taken my glasses?
Are these? Well, these are both my burner glasses, are they not?
You have two pairs of burner glasses.
Yes.
They're very like my good ones.
Yeah, he usually has more than that.
Yeah.
I bought him a pair as a joke for his 50th birthday, and he said that it was too high. He's not that blind. I got
Really?
point like by
Did you get-
3, and
oh,
you're meant
did
to
you?
get multiplied by 1 or something, is it?
One.
He's a
Yeah.
2, I'd say. Are you?
I'm 1.5.
I'm a 2
yeah.
this stage, yeah.
And are you going to be? Because I remember waiting for you to come on to late a couple of years ago, and I actually had to go to bed because you were like
It's on the gravy edges.
Yeah, but is that not the flagship person that they
No,
make
no.
you hang on until the end?
No,
Lemur, probably.
No,
No, I
it's
thought
not.
it was.
It's not.
No, I think
it's
it
not.
is.
It's the dregs.
Because they get the dregs out of the way early.
Sorry, excuse me. There's no dregs
Sorry. No.
about this.
The dregs are at the end.
I don't know if I'll make it up.
Yeah, no, I probably will be at the end,
Yeah.
undoubtedly.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll be discussing many things, including the 2 big anniversaries coming up this year.
Oh, yeah.
Veronica Guerin's murder and the Regency. How's crimeworld.com going?
It's going really well,
Are our
actually.
subscribers flooding in to listen to all their exclusive ad-free content?
I think so. Well, it had been going well. And then obviously with the Bomber Cabinet podcast,
Yeah.
that's gone, like, it's helped things as well. But like, yeah, it's going. It's better than expected in terms of numbers at the moment. So
Right.
fingers crossed that
Yeah.
continues. But yeah, it seems to be going well. Obviously, we had a busy few months over Christmas. I thought Niall was, out yourself here. He was double jobbing, and
We're trying to do everything.
we were a bit concerned about him at some points.
No, you weren't.
I wasn't really. I was concerned about how much I was going to have to listen to him moaning about how tired he was.
Exactly. It was
But
a
no.
selfish concern.
But no, it's been going well so far.
Yeah. Well, we had a little chat this morning and we thought that we'd bring a few stories together that are maybe not as serious as some of the stuff that has been on the last, between people being attacked, firebombed, arson attacks in their homes.
And the
Children
deaths
dying.
of children.
I mean,
and
Yeah.
of course we had one of them before the courts this week, Mason O'Connell's.
We're going to come back to that,
We
definitely.
will. But I mean, and obviously then the murder of Tyg Farrell.
Yeah.
The murder-suicide last week as well.
Yes.
Suicide. So
It's
really,
been horrendous stuff.
Yeah.
So we thought what we'll do is we'll park those for the moment and we'll lighten the mood a little bit with a couple of stories that caught our eye. The first being in regards to poor cyclists. And of course, I am a cyclist, so I'm going to defend us cyclists here.
Okay.
So go and tell us what happened.
Oh, well, so basically there was a collision involving motorcyclists in 2020, and this cyclist was awarded, I think it was €50,000 in damages. He did suffer a brain injury now as a result of it.
Right.
But essentially it was appealed, and the Circuit Court Judge James O'Donoghue this week reduced it by 80%.
80?
And said that basically, although the incident obviously happened and he was injured, that he was culpable in certain aspects in that, he was, I don't think he had a helmet on, he was wearing dark clothing, and
he had no light, of course,
Yeah.
which would be
Right.
that's very specified, and so he reduced it from 50,000 by 80%,
My
so
God.
significantly
Yeah.
reduced. But so that's normal enough, is it? These things
Yeah.
happen in a courts. But it was what he said, I suppose, that pushed him into the very front of all the newspapers and all the radio shows, where he said cyclists have become become a nightmare in Dublin.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing is, he said, because obviously judges are supposed to be their kind of how would you describe it? Like they're the objective voice in terms of administering justice, and they're the kind of the arbiters of the law or whatever. But he said that I'm going to apply my own. I'm entitled to apply my own.
Because he's a driver,
experience
clearly.
as a driver in Dublin City in this. And I suppose that's what kind of angered people, because they're probably thinking of him in his car and, driving around the city. And
But, he said he's going to do it under a thing called judicial notice, which is, I suppose, a kind of a technical term where a judge is sort of allowed. It's not formal evidence, but a judge is basically allowed, take notice of things that occur. So it's a very broad term where he is allowed, I suppose, give this opinion and draw on his own experience, I suppose, in this case. He's meant to draw on reliable sources or anything. So it's basically...
Some cyclist has broken a light beside him or something. And
yes, but he's pre-justified it, if you know what I mean. He's not saying...
There's a huge amount of anger towards cyclists in Dublin, in particular because of the building of these bike lanes. I don't know where you live, if you live in places where these bike lanes are being built. Certainly in the Dunleary Rathdown area, there's a huge amount of them that are kind of like taking up the road.
Yeah.
And there's designated lanes quite a lot of the way. And sometimes there is these very annoying bollards up the length of streets and people can't park anymore because of cycle lanes and all the rest of it. As a cyclist, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But then everybody just hates you. Like, I think we're nearly as hated as joggers.
Well, speaking as a jogger, my issue actually is I think the cycle lanes are a really good idea, and I think that they do work in those places. There's some places where they're not being used, and I think that's what annoys people, but that's not, I suppose, that's a different matter. But I think it's us as a pedestrian and someone that jogs crossing streets, and then as a driver as well, it's the, in 1 minute they decide that they're applying the same rules as the driver where they're going to wait with a red light, and then they decide, no, actually I'm going to nip it over here, and then you're a pedestrian and they're going through a green man. That's my issue. And that does happen.
And I have to, hands up, I have absolutely done that. And sometimes when you've built up a little bit of momentum and you're going, oh no, there's a red light, I'm going to have to stop and start all over again. You can be tired. That's why certainly I sometimes I look and I go, opportunity here to, and I would never do that, maybe not never, but in my car, to drive as well, obviously, I wouldn't be as prone to doing that. But I see us cyclists all the time breaking lights, and breaking lights I think are our biggest offence.
Well, I mean,
and just looking like assholes, those of them that wear the
do you not think there is a touch of sort of self-righteousness when it comes to cyclists? No?
Why?
Well, right, okay, so the Labour Party have complained to the Judicial Council over the judge saying his, like, I mean, look, he had a little bit of a rant. You might have considered judicial notice, but they've gone so far as to complain to the Judicial Council about him, saying that, that I think, what was the term, that deeply problematic his comments were, and very upsetting to cyclists.
Very upsetting.
Now you wouldn't get a nice humble
comments though.
Yeah, you wouldn't get a humble joggers organisation complaining about it if a judge gave out about joggers. Like, is there something about cyclists that
joggers are in themselves, they are a cult.
I do agree with that, but in fairness, we're not jogging most of the time, we're not jogging on the road, you're jogging on the path. So, like, unless you're being an absolute, you can stay out of the way. But I suppose the issue with cyclists is that
I bet pedestrians don't like joggers grunting and
no, I don't think they do. No, I don't think they do. And sometimes with joggers, I've heard of a person who was scaring women because he was jogging closely behind them.
Tell us.
No, well, look, it's inadvertently scaring women.
Yeah, no, not on purpose.
It actually happened to me again the other day because I run up a hill there on the north side of Dublin, and it's towards the end of my run, so I'm not at my peak speed, which would obviously be very, very fast, but so I'm slowing down.
And just to remind anybody that hasn't heard this before, Niall hasn't done the couch to 10k. He's just does 5k end of. He doesn't want aspire to do any more than that. Any less than that, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
He refuses to use a watch. He has no idea.
He sometimes doesn't wear runners. Does he wear his office shoes?
I do wear runners now. Emer did see me in my running gear and said it's the same as my normal gear, except for I have runners on.
I had to drop he left his iPad behind and I dropped it over to him on his way home. I swear to God, I thought he was wearing pyjamas. It was like baggy tracksuit bottoms.
Sure, don't go like full lycra like the cyclists.
Thank God.
I'm glad you don't.
Gear. I don't do that.
I just find that so offensive.
No, I don't do any of that.
Middle-aged men in lycra.
I don't do any of that. And
you see cyclists in lycra.
That's what I mean.
Exactly.
It's so offensive. And like they might be cycling like the equivalent of 30 minutes, which you don't need lycra for.
No.
Like, if you're doing the Tour de France or something.
That's what I'm saying. That's why cyclists are annoying.
I just could hop
over. You're going to let me, by the way,
I'm not in a complete...
really stopped at a very unfortunate moment for me. Niall likes frightening women.
No, because
Just gonna move on, not go back to.
No, because Nicola said that pedestrians get annoyed by joggers, and I was making the joke that you were saying that.
Yeah, you weren't going to clarify why.
I was leaving it to you to clarify.
No, then you moved on.
So it was because he was struggling with his run, and they thought that, and he was coming up behind them, but it was just because.
And how are you
he needs
breathing?
to be fitter.
Like, do a bit of, like, I probably don't have the, something like that.
And
because I'm going up slowly.
Yeah.
Because they do, like it happened to me the other night. I could see a woman and she could hear some.
Are you a gentle jogger? I don't jog
No,
anymore
like a sort of a,
because I jog like an elephant. I
jog like a senile elephant who's maybe had seen better days.
I think you're probably been hurting yourself there. I've seen actually a video of myself running before. I look like Phoebe at Friends. Like anybody.
I can imagine that actually.
Yeah, not a very elegant runner either.
But is it a bit much though to complain? So the Labour Party deputies or the spokesperson on transport, what's his name, Kieran Ahern, has said the commentary is deeply problematic, has exhibited a clear perception of bias against cyclists, and he's made a formal complaint to have him censored.
Wow.
Is it?
The voice of cycling, eh?
Yeah, the voice of cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do find some of them I'm not
I could be
generalising.
the face of cycling.
It could be.
No, but like my point is, you just get on your bike and you're like, you don't go on about it. But some people do go on about it a lot, and there are those cyclists in their Lycra, and they're like, that happened to me once where I was going to turn and I was ahead of them, and then they obviously decided that no, like I should get to, like, because I'm a cyclist, and he was like, I think he thought he was some kind of speed cyclist or something like that.
Yeah.
And he started shouting at me, but like I was well gone in front of him. And then there's other times where I get
one cyclist. How many cyclists are there in the country?
No, I'm not generalising. I'm just saying there are some like that. Yeah. And then there's other times then where at that junction I was like, right, I'm going to let this cyclist pass. And then I'm getting beat by drivers because they're like, come on, he's on a bike, you're in a car. So it is hard to judge with cyclists.
Yeah. We're all sort of like each to our own. And anyway, Niall and his heavy breathing, there are some joggers like that. Others are a little bit more elegant. But, you know, but I mean, we have a thing out for people to send in a Q&A. I often wonder, will somebody not send in a question? Would Niall not try to get to 10 kilometres at some stage? Or how would he feel about getting to 6? You just gave up at 5, did you?
But I go out at the same time.
Yeah.
Whether winter, summer, rain, sunshine.
Yeah, no, at least you do it.
Yeah, because there's people that do, like, you know, they like aspire to, they do marathons and then they stop running for months. So maybe he's better off.
No boom and bust.
Yeah, just continue.
But speaking of boom and bust, will I segue into the next story?
Go on.
An incredible story, actually, about a woman who's been found guilty of fraud, a primary school teacher who faked 2 pregnancies and wore a fake bump to school in order to get maternity.
Where was she from?
She's from Offaly.
Offaly?
Oh, she's a primary school teacher called Emer Carroll, 43. And she made up 2 kids. I think what were their names? Josh and something else?
No, it was
Emily. Sorry, Emily and Oren.
Did we come across this lady before?
No, I don't think so.
Well, she is currently serving a sentence in relation to an harassment of a man.
In relation to sending letters.
Yeah, sending abusive letters. But no, she's just been convicted of a number of charges, 4 sample charges. She was originally charged with 30 offences, including deception and.
So how long did you get off for pregnancy?
Well, they gave a value to what she claimed, which was using a false instrument to claim over 12,000 in maternity benefit.
Was the false instrument the fake bump?
No, she got letters from doctors.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
She
different doctors. She sent letters and she sent in
and faked them.
Yeah, and she had a fake husband as well.
Yeah, with a name and everything.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Peter Parsons, was that? Sounds like Peter Parker. Maybe that's where she got.
And she got another 46,000 euros worth of maternity.
She was a qualified teacher.
She was a qualified.
She had a
teacher.
job, and she did this.
She had a job.
Yeah.
She went in, submitted all the forms, filled them all out, and then somehow they became aware of it. The Department of Social Protection, the guards, inspected all the documents. There was loads and every document was done absolutely perfectly. She even called herself Emer Carol Parsons in a couple of them in respect of her husband. And
I'd love to know a little bit about this lady. If anybody's listening or watching this, definitely come, send us in anything that you know. But people don't sort of come out of the blue and do that without...
And she's obviously currently in prison for that campaign of
harassment.
I mean, it was great though when she was arrested, because you would think that she was absolutely nabbed. I mean, the guards got a warrant, inspected her home, found no baby clothes, obviously, or no sign of the Mr. Parsons, and just had one room furnished. And then they brought her in to question her. And she sort of, they have some of the details of what she said. Asked if she understood why she was arrested. She said, "I do, but I don't understand how it involves me." And when the documentation was put to her, where are these kids and all that, she said, "There's obviously a mix-up. Anything I've submitted is above board. And I did nothing wrong. I followed the guidelines. I filled out the forms perfectly." And when specifically asked, "Where are these kids that you're meant to have had?" she replied, "I'm not discussing my babies with two strangers."
And then when she was asked who was Peter Parsons, she said, "I'm not commenting on other people. These people didn't exist."
Yeah, and I'm entitled to my maternity benefit like everyone else.
Wow.
Yeah, but you have to have a baby though.
What a thing to do over such a long period of time, and creating this whole fantasy.
That is
family.
That is not normal.
No,
but there's a motivation in it. It's not normal, I agree, but it's for time off and money.
Yeah, but it was so detailed that she even said one child was 10 weeks premature, so she was entitled to add on to her maternity leave for that reason. So
she was getting congratulated by her co-workers.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Was there details if this lady had actually got children herself?
No, it was single. That was when it was looked into by the Department of Social Protection. They found that she was a single woman.
Right.
Never had any children.
And no dependents, no benefit yet. Social welfare does a lot of them in as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes they get a tip off, don't they? It does happen. It doesn't say that in this
case.
I mean, that's what we discussed some time ago about, suspicions about somebody working in the revenue, right? And actually so much information is held within that.
Yeah.
Your salary, your status, all of that, addresses, PPS numbers. There's a huge amount of
your PPS number is, if that's stolen, that's...
And you file your tax returns and it details your debts as well.
Yeah.
So there's a huge amount of information to be garnered, and it works the other way then as well.
And of course, people don't feel a bit more comfortable. They'd be uncomfortable giving a statement that they know was wrong to the guards, but they feel kind of pretty comfortable taking a chance with a social welfare form, but it does come back to haunt them.
Yeah,
and of course, we've seen in other cases recently how applying for children's allowance has caught people out.
Yeah,
a much more serious case in that case.
But
now, what about Enoch?
Yeah, he's back.
Is Enoch I mean, Enoch has just got to the stage that he's just Enoch. We don't need to say he's Enoch Burke.
No, I mean...
He's like Daniel.
He is, and in fact, he is like Daniel Kinnan in that, we wouldn't necessarily be aware of it, but if you look at the level of international coverage, Enoch is up there with Conor McGregor and Daniel Kinnan as Irish, and maybe Barry Keoghan, of people that are genuinely famous across the world.
Yeah.
Because all of these occasions when Enoch Burke gets out, we think it's an Irish-only phenomenon.
Yeah.
But it goes all across the world.
Really?
All of the major world publications, often in a simplified version that people would take.
There's been some protests outside Mountjoy prison, is it, where he's been held?
There was one on. I drove past it. There was one on Sunday as well.
Yeah. And what do they do?
Well, they say prayers and stuff, and then there's wave a few flags. There was a few of the people there, but it was extraordinary. He walked out, obviously, much more casual than normal, wasn't he? He was in runners and a gilet.
I can't imagine Enoch in runners.
A gilet, is it? Yeah, no. He had runners and a top.
In his uniform.
He did. But he walked out and gave, and I thought it was fascinating, really, because he was one of the first people I've ever seen. I can't think of anybody else to come out of prison and say it's outrageous that I've been released from prison.
Let's have a quick look at that.
This is a travesty now today. I was told, as you know, by Judge Cregan just a matter of weeks ago that I was to be in here for life, that I was going to be behind these bars until I broke. But now today we have a different story. I'm coming out here, no sense to it, no reason to it. This is the same judge who said I would never get out, no Christmas holidays, no Easter holidays. And now I'm being released and there's no sense to it at all. And of course, the worst part of this is that I'm not being given back my job. I'm not being embraced back at Wilson's Hospital School today. The judge isn't saying put him back in his classroom where he belongs. It's a quick fix. It's just a quick effort by Judge Cregan to relieve his own conscience. And I was thinking as I sat in that bed a few minutes ago of those words, to none will we sell, to none will we deny or delay right or justice. That's what the Magna Carta said 800 years ago. But that's what we have here today. It's just another delay. It's putting you out on the street. It's putting you out for putting them in, putting them out again, but no deliverance of right or justice by our courts. I have a right to say I cannot call a young boy gay. I have a right to do that. I have a right to my Christian belief, as does everyone in this country, but it's not been given to us. Judge Cregan knows well where I will be tomorrow. He knows I'll be at my workplace. He knows I'm employed there, I'm a teacher, that I'm a man of principle and that I do my duty. But he's letting me out because he sees the public mood changing to curry a little bit of favour for himself.
Honestly, I racking my brains to think of anybody I've ever heard before walk out of prison and say I should be kept in there.
So where is he? Well,
he's already appeared at the school.
Yeah,
so
trying to get him back to prison now, aren't they?
Well, exactly.
What is the point? It's a little bit of a pointless exercise, isn't it?
Well, it depends on your perspective. His perspective.
Well, it's not doing him. He seems to be able to do his time.
Oh, sorry, you're saying it's a pointless exercise from the state.
And it's also taken up a place in prison, which is much needed, no doubt.
And of course, the court proceedings, which are constant. So,
what else do you do then? Because if they just let him stay at the school, it's just going to turn into...
Well, I think the state have got to the point, and the judicial system have got to the point where they clearly don't want to put him in prison.
Yeah. No, they don't want to. I don't think they ever wanted to, but I think he would never give the undertaking to stay away from the school. So what else do you do? Because he is technically breaking the law, and is he just going to stand at the school?
But he is going to stand.
Oh, he is, but
he's told us what he's going to do. I'm going to continue to turn up at the school. So so it became a battle of wills, and most people in those circumstances, we've seen many examples. We did a podcast on it before. In nearly all of those cases, eventually the state grinds down the individual, and the individual purges their contempt one way or another. But he clearly isn't likely to, and it's putting the state in a position that, the judicial system, whatever you want to call it, but it is the state where they clearly don't want to lock him up, and they don't feel it's in the interest of justice to keep him locked up. And the judges are looking for a way to not lock him up, but he is persisting in wanting to be locked up, and so where it all ends, it's impossible to know.
Yeah, he must be getting on, must be fed well and all that in Mountjoy if he's...
Well, I'm sure, I'm sure he doesn't enjoy it, but I'm sure, look, in his mind, but what it is somebody that is, Enoch Burke. I'm not an Enoch Burke supporter or something like that, but he is a person of incredibly strong will to endure that.
I suppose he's deeply religious, isn't he, in his own, so he's using that as a stand on his points of principle, but I just don't know where it's going to go from here, because can the state just leave him now and just let him stand at the school forevermore?
They can't. The problem is that
he's breaking a court order.
Yeah, exactly.
Court orders don't matter then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point. So
a difficult position everybody's in with it, really, isn't it?
And does it become and
there's no going to be able to sit down and talk to him. There's no in-between person who's going to sit down and talk to him. You see, he's also feeding off the publicity, isn't he, that we're all giving him, and we're here giving it to him here again.
Definitely, 100%.
That's what he wants. They want to raise the profile. The Burke, that campaign is being backed, and they want to raise the profile. And
well, I have to say now, I'm about as far from an Enoch Burke supporter as you get, but he's not somebody who has particularly sought to monetize his campaign either. I would say.
No, I don't think he sought to monetize it, but he's sought to raise the publicity around it, and each time he goes to prison, and each time he's released, and each time he stands outside that school, he's going to get, you'd wonder in the dead of winter there if the media had, a united front and didn't report it, how long would he stand?
I don't know. I think he can.
I mean, I know that's never going to happen because somebody's going to break ranks. It's like trying to hold a load of greyhounds in behind
exactly,
and
the social media publicity too. And they went to America, didn't they, to publicise it too? So
they do. They have their own social media, but I wonder without the actual, him being on RTE News and talked about here and etc. How long would he suffer the cold, or would he try and do something else that would garner the publicity? It's all this kind of like feeding frenzy, isn't it?
It is.
We're at the table with.
It is, but I suppose. I think he might still be there, and I think it's just an unusual circumstance. And I don't think it's totally a cynic. It's not. You can't say it's a cynical act on his behalf. But I mean, it's obviously people are entitled as well. The school they're entitled to let people go, and I think he's in with certain people. In Mountjoy, you will be kept with certain types of prisoners. They don't mix everybody with everybody. But I think he is a strong-willed person. So people look. A lot of people say when in the prison system, if you keep out of trouble and don't get yourself in trouble, you can exist in there. You will generally be left alone.
Talk about getting yourself into trouble. There's been quite a few drug mules caught in Dublin Airport of late with quite an amount of cannabis in their actual luggage that they're carrying through the airport. I mean, it seems so hard to believe that nowadays that is still a way to import. But there was one particular guy recently who I think sort of took the biscuit and maybe deserves a moniker of being one of the stupidest criminals that has come before our courts. But he's an American guy, and he flew into Dublin with, he's certainly accused of flying into Dublin with €280,000 worth of cannabis in his luggage. Now, he reported the bag missing and was arrested when he returned to collect it. So what would you do?
Well, you see,
maybe he was worried about what would happen if
He's before the Dublin District Court at the moment. He's been granted bail, but that's so far as the case has been heard. Now, he's a man called Ulisse Mendez. He's 30 and he is from California. He's not alone though, because only the other week as well, somebody was caught with €400,000 worth of cannabis in their luggage. And there's been a couple of other cases before the courts. A day ago, in actual fact, from when we're speaking today, there was a man in his 20s caught with 15 kilos of the drug in a suitcase.
Yeah, and do you know, some of these cases are... and some of these cases are driven by a new phenomenon, which is that cannabis herb is legal in many, many countries, in particular in the US. So obviously buying a huge quantity of cannabis, it can be done by anybody. It's not, you don't have to have drug connections. So what you're getting is the rise of these mule smugglers from a couple of places, from Thailand in particular and from the US, where it's not organised by drug gangs.
They're just chancing
their arm. And probably people are getting away with it all the time. Because I presume a lot of these stops are not coming from intelligence-led operations about complex drug gangs. What you're getting is somebody the dog smelling something or something.
Because the bang of it, how could you get it through the...
Well, you have to have a vacuum packed.
Yeah, and is it worth it as well? Like there's one kid, he's only 18 and he's a Scottish guy, but he was transporting cannabis from Thailand to Dublin, and he was stopped in Doha, and he spent Christmas in a jail in Doha with 80 men.
Lovely.
On charges, and apparently he's a champion fisherman, and his family were saying he's so upset he couldn't eat, and he's lost loads of weight, and like that would be not worth it.
Drug mules have always gone way back, have always been poor people who have been sort of used or taken a chance to get rich quick. And the get rich could be something to us, which would be like a month's salary. But in their world and in their country, in their environment, that's going to change their lives. You know what I mean? It'll allow them to open a business, or a lot of them, the drug mules that you see going through the courts over the years. And if you speak to them in the aftermath, they have a dream. And it's just to do one run and to make enough money to go back and to pay for the health care for somebody sick in their family, or to, open a souvenir shop in where they live or whatever. So it is driven by poverty, this taking of a chance. It seems ludicrous to us that you'd pack a suitcase with that amount of cannabis herb and expect to get through airports.
Because we do have a minimum.
I'd have needed to smoke the whole lot to try and be cool and calm enough to keep myself.
Oh,
can you imagine?
I don't think that would make me calm.
No, I would be absolutely. It would make you even more paranoid, I suppose. Yeah, you'd be like, okay, take my suitcase.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know, but no. It's also it's like that amount of cannabis. Like, it's very clear in Ireland that you have it. Like, okay, it doesn't always get abided by, but you have a 10-year minimum sentence for any drugs worth over 13,000 euros. So like, you're facing a huge
risk.
Risk.
That if you're educated, but if you're not, yet again, if you're coming from some sort of an impoverished environment, you might not know that.
You might
All
not,
you might know is that.
Would you not have an Google before you?
Maybe you can't read, maybe you can't read.
This teenager was from Scotland, and he said he was forced into it. And like, if Michaela McCollum's situation, like, I think it's just some, like,
I think they were
naive,
just young and naive, and they wanted a bit of money.
Exactly.
You don't even need to be able to type it out. You can just do ChatGPT. What can I get now if I get caught with 400,000, and it'll come back with the answer.
I suppose you see what they just see is the kind of the value of it in the drug market here. Like, we're a rich country. We pay a lot more for cannabis weed than they will get it in other countries.
And of course, they can in the US. You can just go in and buy it.
Yeah.
So you're not taking a huge risk at any point.
But there's loads of places you can do that now in Canada.
There is.
And various Portugal, Spain. Like, it's just, are we going to be last at the table with that, I wonder?
Well, we're not going to be last. And of course, there have been moves to so the laws are constantly shifting. Certainly in the US, it's very embedded now, and cannabis is not going to be made illegal again. Europe is definitely been slower to take it up. I don't know if there's any particular political support in this country for cannabis to be made.
There's very little talk about it.
Very little talk. Very little. I mean, obviously there's
a lot of opposition talk from the likes of the kind of the people who are treating those in drug rehabilitation.
Yeah.
I mean, there was certainly a big discussion about it at times. There was a constitutional convention, wasn't there, on the drugs? But there doesn't seem to be any political movement behind legalizing cannabis. You'd have to look at it and think it's not going to happen in this country anytime soon. It may be that if other countries in Europe start making those moves, and of course there have been some moves to enforce laws in places like the Netherlands, where they're maybe rolling back from some of the more legal or the more lax laws on drug regulations as well. So yeah,
I just think you'd be battling all the health, like all the all the health authorities and the damage that it does if you were to try and even bring an argument into that. I don't know if our political system is.
A lot of them supported it. the sort of the health advocates will support the legalization or the decriminalization of drugs.
Oh, I think the louder ones do not support it.
I don't know if the health experts would.
You're going to.
Yeah.
What do they say? It's a
gateway drug.
Gateway drug, and they say that so many people have problems. Most of those people with those strong voices are working in healthcare rehabilitation, where people have ended up with proper addictive problems that they've come into kind of residential care.
Yeah,
like they're representing a very tiny proportion of users.
Well,
drugs.
Well, there is there's a lot of health advocates who seek to have drugs decriminalized in order to treat addiction as a health issue.
But they're not doctors working in the HSC, are they? They'd be.
No, I mean the movement against the legalization of cannabis, a lot of that comes from the guards as well, who are very, very take a very opposing stance. But there was these broad public meetings about reforming drug laws, and a lot of the community workers, there is a divide, there is two sides on that debate, but there are a lot of community workers who seek to have certainly people's first interaction with the police for addiction to be for drug use to be treated as a medical problem as opposed to a criminal issue. But it's either way, it looks unlikely to make any dramatic changes.
But it's extraordinary. Like, I mean, you only have to walk through Dublin. Like, I mean, the cities all over the world like it, but they're just a bang of weed the whole way along the pavement, isn't it?
Yeah, it's never.
No.
I don't think you'd ever get used to it. That smell.
No. Anyway, it is what it is. Okay. Now we just want to move to a story about another hapless thief who was trying to, scratch an itch, went in to steal some booze and ended up lifting the 0% stuff.
Do you know, I feel really sorry for this guy, and it's not because of the stealing, which obviously isn't good, but he was obviously had an issue with alcohol that was said in court, but he's went into, I think it was in Monaghan, went in to steal alcohol and accidentally stole a non-alcoholic bottle of gin and a non-alcoholic bottle of Captain Morgan's, which I didn't know you could get.
I didn't even know you could get either.
How much I don't blame him, because it was €18 each, the two bottles.
He actually went in first, stole the non-alcoholic rum, obviously realised, fuck, this is non-alcoholic, went back in and stole another bottle, and again stole another non-alcoholic bottle.
But
court.
If you were in
the same off licence a few minutes later and stole a bottle of Captain Morgan's rum, which also turned out to be non-alcoholic.
God, let's have a little bit of compassion here. What happened to him?
And then he was found asleep in a field. Like, this man does have a lot of talking about addiction.
He was found asleep in the field by the Gardaí. And when they woke him up, he told them to fuck off and leave me alone.
He was probably in bad form.
Yeah.
He's had a bad day.
I know, but in fairness, if you were in a rush and you looked at €18, you're thinking you can get it cheaper than that in the duty-free, the alcoholic version. It's mental, in fairness. But so not advocating stealing, but that is a crime.
But again,
what happened to him?
Well, exactly.
He got jailed.
He got a 1 month prison sentence.
For God's sake.
Yeah. So... Now, he has a lot of convictions.
How much did that cost the taxpayer to put that poor guy into a prison cell for whatever?
A month.
1 month he wouldn't have served a month.
No.
He'd have been processed through the system.
Money and to keep in a lot of bottles of Captain Morgan.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was
this is the sort of stuff that's stupid. If this guy has a proper addiction problem, why are we putting him through the justice system really at all? It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. That's a waste of a bed in a prison. That's not going to do him any good whatsoever.
No,
put the money into... I know not everyone's going to be, rehabilitated from addiction, but they can be helped with it.
Yeah, and also...
supported through it.
He's going to be given a month's sentence by a judge who's weighed up the case. He's going to go into prison. Yeah. He'll probably be released within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
If he even goes in.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So processing all the man hours, all the paperwork that needs to be done, ridiculous.
And he was fined as well, so he probably couldn't be able to afford to pay.
There's no way.
Yeah.
If you can't afford a bottle of gin, you can't afford to pay a fine.
Of course, some of these sentences put people in touch with the probation services, and probation services seek to move them in a different direction. But those short prison sentences, most people at this point are barely serving them, certainly in with the prisons as overcrowded as they are.
I'd imagine in his previous convictions he's probably being referred to addiction services, but but
anyway, that was a bad day for him.
That was a bad day for him.
Maybe he hadn't his glasses on him.
Yeah. But I just couldn't believe that first of all, they can get Captain Morgan's non-alcoholic and then it's €18. But
now, finally, we are going to talk about... Oh, no, we're not. We're done.
Was there one about Thomas O'Neill and his ferret?
Sorry.
This is one of the best stories.
Thank God you're here. This is the best one at all. And we are going to speak about ferrets.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realise were actually pets of people.
People can have ferrets as pets. So
Thomas O'Neill was let out just before Christmas.
People don't know who Thomas O'Neill is.
Well, if they had listened to the Crime World podcast...
they're not going to listen to everyone.
So Thomas O'Neill is a very, very notorious criminal for a couple of reasons. First, when he was just 16, he committed one of the most horrific rapes, I think, genuinely in the history of the state. He was only a teenager when a tourist was gang raped in the Cratloe Woods, and he was given a really hefty sentence. It was a very shocking case at the time because of the ages of the offenders. They locked the woman was there with her boyfriend. He was locked in the boot and she was savagely raped. That was one of the reasons he's so notorious. The other reason would be that when he did get out of prison, he struck up a relationship with a woman called April Collins, and that relationship would spark a series of events that would lead indirectly to the downfall of the McCarthy-Dundon gang, as April Collins would give evidence against her former partner, Ger Dundon's brothers, John and Wayne, and they would ultimately be convicted of, sentenced to life in prison for murders. So Thomas O'Neill and April Collins were set to, they got married and they were set to live a happy life, except for the fact that Thomas O'Neill has continued to get in more or less in and out of prison on a constant basis. Most recently, he was convicted of heroin dealing and had served a couple of years in prison. Finally got out on this in the middle of December. We had pictures of him enjoying Christmas at home with April Collins's family. And so again, the happy ending has not materialised.
No.
So
because he's charged with allegedly stealing a ferret, the cage the ferrets kept in, as well as a chainsaw and a Hayachi chainsaw.
Right.
As well. There's 2 different types of chainsaws. So each one of them was valued at €350. The ferret only cost €50 apparently, which I didn't know.
I was going to say, I just Googled that. There's a ferret for sale if anybody's interested in one in Dublin, a female, €60.
Yeah. So he's been put back in prison pending that charge.
Still the ferret.
Yeah, it doesn't go into details. Obviously it's still an allegation, but Thomas O'Neill says not pointed to his history is you can't, and he was, I suppose there's been a lot of, obviously it's been reports on the feud, he's been kind of said, there was fears that he was going to be central to that when he came back out. Obviously April Collins has been a target of that feud in Limerick, so maybe this will give it a bit of a calm couple of weeks.
And as a complete aside for all Crime World listeners and viewers, just in case any of us are in conversation in the coming months about ferrets, let's learn a little bit about them, right? So some of their quirky behaviours are they sleep 18 to 20 hours a day.
Right.
And they enter a deep, unresponsive, dead sleep, making new owners panic.
Oh my God, I'd be terrified.
Right? So they look as if they're dead. That sounds like me.
Do you know how many pet ferrets there are in the US?
How many?
5 million, it was estimated at one stage.
Almost the same population as Ireland.
Random thing for us to know.
That's the same population as Ireland.
I Googled.
Is that all you Googled?
Because I Googled stuff
I'm going to tell you much more interesting stuff, right? Ferrets are master thieves. They love to hoard and steal anything shiny or small. And they hide it away in sort of secret stashes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Again, sounds like me.
Well, I'll give you another fact. In 2009 in Finland, they drafted in a load of ferrets to control the rabbit population because they felt they were being overbred.
Where's he getting all this from?
Where'd you get that?
Now, they have a grape soda scent, particularly those on raw diets. They develop this sort of grape sweet-like smell on their rear ends. But before he comes in with it, I want to tell you about the war dance.
What?
Because when excited, they puff up their tails, arch their backs and hop wildly, sometimes running into things, accompanied by a clucking sound called duking. Apparently the ferrets' war dance is the most famous thing about them.
Really?
They sound like a kind of an interesting little character, don't they?
Would you be open to it as a pet?
Sleeping thief. No.
No.
I don't. They're too ratty for me now, personally.
They're kind of narrow, aren't they? They're a bit like...
Yeah, well, and sort of anybody of sort of my age group might remember Last of the Summer Wines, which is really showing. I think my grandmother used to watch it.
Yeah.
But I remember the guy, his name was maybe Pongo or something like that. He was a farmer guy and he always carried a ferret up his trousers.
Oh God.
In his trouser leg. The ferret lived in his trouser leg.
How long did he live for?
Nicholas full of facts.
Right now.
Yeah, sorry, tell me now.
Ferrets, how long do they live for? Yeah, because just in case, this is dinner party fodder for anyone.
I didn't know they had a war dance and that they smell like grapes.
I didn't know people had dinner parties, she says.
Not anymore, not in my generation.
No, they don't. 5 to 10 years lifespan.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. And the main cause of death in ferrets is intestinal obstruction. Beat that.
Oh my God.
Beat that.
He's going to come out with something wild now.
I can't.
I can actually beat myself. Can they be 100% potty trained?
Can they?
No.
So what, they should just shit around the place?
No, they don't shit around the place. No, they sometimes have accidents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's like any animal, isn't it?
Outside their litter tray.
Yeah.
And usually when they're playing, so it's in the hours that they're not in a dead sleep when you think that you need to bury them. So they're only awake for 4 hours a day then.
That's kind of handy though, isn't it? For like
From dusk though.
And they're shitting the floor during that time.
Noel sleeps. Noel works a lot. He should get a ferret.
Yeah.
He'd be like easy to look after.
Anyway,
for more ferret related information, please tune into Crime World next week.
Exactly.
And could you have it with another pet, like with a dog? Like,
I'd say if you kept it apart.
I'd say she knows absolutely nothing about that, but she's still going to offer. She's still going to offer an opinion anyway.
I'm going to put in because I have one of these myself. Okay, I have a Jack Russell who would definitely probably savage a ferret. But it says here, a ferret and a Jack Russell Terrier can coexist, but it requires careful early introductions and constant supervision due to the Jack Russell's strong prey drive as a hunting dog.
Oh my God, yeah. I don't know if that
There's a squirrel in my back garden that drives my dog absolutely bananas, and I have to actually give the squirrel a head start before I let him out because I'm terrified that he's going to get him by the tail and do that thing they do, you know?
I wouldn't like
the ratting thing they do.
No.
So there you go. Anyway, that's enough today from Animal World.
I really want to know the background to Thomas Neal and the ferret.
Yeah. That has to have been somebody's. Yeah, let's. I tell you what. Let's look into that.
Because if you stole someone's pet, like I'd be very upset if someone stole my pet.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
Let's set somebody on that investigation. Okay. All right. Until next time.
Thanks, Nicola.
Thanks.